Are you able to read what is written here? Or it is
Yes,
too far away?
thank you.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how are you all?
Exhausted.
Exhausted?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
It was very hot yesterday, and trying to practice yoga and all of this in this heat is
Okay.
very difficult.
Yes, it's very hot in here also. Very hot. Like for this season, it's too hot. Okay, so we'll do the revision and some new topics. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we studied types of joints yesterday or day before yesterday.
Yesterday.
Okay, so we are studying types of joints. You're able to read this? Okay, I will have to spotlight me. Yeah. So, are you able to read what I'm writing?
Again, I can because I'm on my computer. I don't know about the girls.
Yeah, it's a little bit small.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
types
thank
of
you.
joints. In that, we studied about hinge joint, pivot joint, ball and socket, saddle, and plane. Okay. But I want to tell you that prior to this, they are divided into three parts. Okay, three categories. And that is immovable, then partly movable, and movable, or synovial joint. We studied this in depth. Okay, types of synovial joints or movable joints. We covered that. So what is it?
We did not. So yesterday we went over hinge joints, pivot joints, ball and socket, and then you stopped at number 4, which was
Okay.
ellipsoid, carpal
Yes.
radius. That's where we stopped. So we haven't done these immovable, partly movable, or movable.
Okay, yes, you have not done this, but we started this synovial joints.
Which one is that?
Movable joints. Okay. Under this comes hinge.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you, you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay. So immovable joints, as the name suggests, the joints are not movable. I have told you about the joints which are not movable. Please give me example.
In the head, the skeleton.
Very good. Skull. Okay, like this frontal bone, parietal. All these bones, they are skull sutures. Okay. Immovable joint, skull sutures. Frontal, parietal, all these bones are joined with immovable joints. Okay. And like articulation between the teeth and mandible. These are the example of immovable joints. And first pair of ribs and sternum. Yeah, immovable joints. All the joints which are not moving, they are called as immovable joints. Like in rib cage, we studied there are 12 pairs. Okay, 12 pairs. And when we breathe in and we breathe out, so the rib cage expands and then it goes back. It expands, it goes back. But the first pair is not moving. Okay, the joint is not moving. It is immovable joint. Now, partly movable. Okay, these are fibrous joints. Yes. So partly movable, that is limited movement. And they are cartilaginous. Example of partly movable is rib cage. Except rib cage, partly movable, except
the ribs and the sternum.
Oh, the first pair. All the rib bones are movable. You see, you breathe in, the rib cage is moving. Okay, slightly movement, only this much movement of the ribs. Okay, but the first pair of ribs are not movable. The joint of ribs with sternum is not at all movable. Okay, so movable joints, and there's movable joints. Synovial. Movable joints or synovial joints, they have synovial joints. Yeah. So we have the maximum movement in these kind of joints. Okay, we have studied some of these yesterday, and they are hinge joint. Okay, just take screenshot of this. And I will erase it. So we have synovial joints, the third type. In this, we have hinge joint. Hinge joint is like this, somewhat like this. Okay, so in hinge joint, movement is in one axis. The movement, like, see, this is the elbow, okay, and this is the axis. It is able to move like this. So it is moving in one axis. Like you see the door, any door in your house, how it moves. Okay. Suppose this is a door. This is a handle. So how it moves? It's moving along this axis. So this is called a hinge. Similarly, this elbow is moving in one direction. So in this, we have flexion. Extension. We have only we have only flexion and extension in this kind of. So, okay, what is flexion? I told you. We studied the movements of muscles, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we did. Yes. Okay. So flexion, like I told you, it is when the angle between two bones is decreasing, it's flexion. When the angle between two bones is increasing, it's extension. Flexion, extension. Flexion, extension. Okay. And this is the example of hinge joint, elbow and knee. Next, we have pivot. Pivot is something like this. Okay. In pivot, there is pronation and supination. Okay. So you see, I'm able to move like this. And if you see closely, I'm able to move it like this. Yeah, without moving my upper arm, I'm able to move like this. I'm able to this. This movement is called pronation and supination. I'll show you a good image of this. You'll be able to understand more. Okay, so this is the normal situation. This is the normal situation, and we are talking about this joint, this highlighted joint. Okay. And then we have a situation of pronation where ulna and radius are twisted. Okay. Ulna is in its same position. Ulna doesn't move. It's the radius that moves. Yes. You see, ulna is in its same position. It's the radius that is moving, and this is the joint we are talking about. Okay, so here we see pronation. This is the pronation. And when the arm moves back to its original position, that is supination. I hope that is clear. Yeah, you can take screenshot of this, please. Okay, so next. Next is ball and socket. This example of this is a line radius. Next is ball and socket. In ball and socket, there is a ball-like structure which is fitted into a socket. Okay. So, example of this is shoulder and
Hips.
hips. Yes. So this is the case in hip and this is in shoulder. Like I told you yesterday, here the socket is bigger, in shoulder the socket is smaller. Okay, because of which this has more movement, this has less movement. But this is less stable and this is more stable. Stability is required here. More stability is required here because the hip joint is carrying all the weight of the torso of the head and it is transferring that weight to the legs. Okay, so this has more weight to handle than shoulder joint. Shoulder joint, it is only carrying the arm, whereas it is not carrying any other weight. The hip joint, it is carrying the weight of the head, of the torso, and also of the arms. So this has to have more stability, but this has more movement, this has less movement. I hope that is very clear. Okay, so what all movements we have here? We have flexion, we have extension, we have abduction, we have adduction. Okay, so we know what is flexion and extension. Flexion, extension. Then abduction. What is abduction? When the body is moving, when an organ is moving away from the midline, that is abduction. When it is adding to the volume, it's adduction. Okay, like then I told you the example of this. This is abduction because it is moving away from the midline. Adduction because it is moving towards the midline. Then it has a rotation. Rotation is, you see, I'm able to move this arm. Okay, this is rotation. And then we have circumduction. Circumduction is that the arm can be rotated, this complete movement, this rotation, okay, of the move of the whole arm. This is circumduction. It is purely because of this ball and socket. I hope this is very clear. Okay, so next we have ellipsoid. It is similar to ball and socket, except that it is ellipsoid in shape. Instead of a ball, it is ellipsoid. Oh yeah, I think I should show you picture of. I showed you yesterday. But I'll show it again. This is the hip joint that I'm showing. Okay, you see, it is nicely engraved in the hip bone. Okay, this ball, it is nicely engraved in this bone. Okay. If you want to take screenshot, you can take. And then we have the shoulder joint, and you can easily see that this is shoulder joint is more open as compared to the hip joint. Yes, and that's why it's able to move more freely. Here we see this clavicular. This is the clavicular bone. Then this is scapula. And here this humerus is attached. Okay. So this pectoral girdle, it is providing this joint. It is attaching this arm to the torso. Okay. Yes, ellipsoid. Ellipsoid, the example is wrist. Or radiocarpal joints. Okay, this. I told you, we have carpals here. And this, we have radius here. Okay. So this joint, this, you see this joint, this, we are able to move. We are able to rotate. Yes. So this joint is ellipsoid. Ellipsoid is similar to ball and socket, and there is flexion, extension, and circumflexion. Okay, flexion, extension, and circumduction. Then next we have plane. In plane joint, there is rotation and gliding. An example of this is carpals and tarsals. Okay, so in this we have carpals. I told you carpals here. So, and tarsals. Where do we have tarsals? Where are the tarsals present?
In the feet.
Yes, in the feet. The AD, the heels, they are tarsals. So the plane joints are like this. Okay, plane joints. So they have rotation and gliding. Carpals and tarsals are the example of plane joints. Okay, then we have condyle joints. Condyloid joints. It allows movement but no rotation. Example, phalanges. You see, here, this joint and this joint. I'm able to move like this, but I cannot rotate. I can rotate from here, but I cannot rotate here. Okay, I can only do this movement. Okay, so in condyle joints, there is movement, but no rotation. Okay, so example, phalanges, like finger. Okay, this. Please take the screenshot. Take screenshot, please. Okay. Okay, then there is some movement in the spine, okay, in the spinal cord, like lateral flexion. What do we have in lateral flexion? It is the movement in the vertical plane that bends the spine to one side or the other. We have like trikonasana, in which we bend like this or like this. So this lateral bend is called the lateral flexion. Okay, it is the movement in vertical plane. Movement in vertical plane that bends the spine. Yes, this lateral flexion, the flexion that we have in trikonasana, or when we are doing tadasana, with when we are bending, basically this bending, this. Okay, this is called lateral flexion. The flexion that happens in the spinal cord is lateral flexion. I hope that is clear.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay. Then in spine we have twisting. Okay, what is twisting? Is when we have like 𝐘𝐨𝐿 chakrasana, okay, like this we have, in which the spinal cord, you see, there is spinal cord. The upper half is moving in this direction and the lower half is moving in this direction. Basically, we only twist the upper body, okay, from the waist when we twist, okay, 𝐘𝐨𝐿 chakrasana. Example, 𝐘𝐨𝐿 chakrasana. Okay, when this is performed, there is twisting in the spinal cord. The upper half is twisted in one direction, the other half is twisted in the other direction. Then we have axial extension. Example is Tadasana. Okay, when we are pulling upwards, okay, when this spinal cord, it is basically like this. A spinal cord is in S shape, but when it is stretched upwards, this S, it tries to become more straight. Okay, like in Tadasana. You know Tadasana?
Mountain
that-
pose.
Huh?
Yeah.
Mountain pose.
Mountain pose.
Tadasana.
Yes. Tadasana is like you are on your toes. Okay, and your hands are up in the air. And you're trying to stretch upwards. Okay, I will give you one. This is Tadasana. The third. This third body. This is Tadasana. Okay, in this, the spinal cord is pulled upwards. It is the curves. The cervical, thoracic, and lumbar curves, they are reduced. Okay, the curves are reduced and overall length of the spine is increased. I think now it is very clear. Okay, so in this, what happens? The curves of cervical, thoracic, and lumbar are reduced, and the length, overall length of spine is increased. So this is the lateral view. Okay, if you see from the side, it is a little bit in S shape. But when we are doing Tadasana, we are trying to reduce this S, reduce the curves of this S. That is in thoracic, lumbar, and cervical. We are trying to reduce those curves. And that is called the axial extension. Axial extension. You can take screenshot of this. Okay. So yesterday we studied about the muscles. Yeah. Did I tell you about tendons and fascia?
I'm sorry, I don't think we did tendons yesterday. We only did the
Yes, then
muscles.
I didn't. Yes. So tendons, fascia, ligaments, cartilage, Okay. So like, you know, in our clothes, we have threads, we have buttons, we have safety pin, and we have a lot of these kind of structures. Yeah. That's why they are held together. Like this t-shirt I'm wearing, okay, it is stitched with a thread. Yes, that's why these two pieces of cloth are holding together. Similarly, the bones, they need some kind of stitching, and the muscles need some kind of stitching. Okay, so these tendons, fascia, ligament, cartilage, uh, they behave like this thread. Okay, they're holding together, or buttons. Okay, or okay, so what happens is attach muscle to bone. Tendons attaches muscle to bone. You see, we have this skeletal system, which is composed of the bones. Okay, mostly bones. There are other components also, but we are talking about bones. There are bones all over the body. But if we have only bones, there will be a lot of friction, they cannot move. So for that, they have, and they do not receive any signal also. Okay, so what happens? Like suppose we have femur, okay, and we have some joints here. If there are only bones, you know, the bones are very brittle and they're stiff. Okay, there will be sound if they are like they're moving against each other. So we have cartilage here. At the tip of the bones. Okay. This cartilage, it provides a less friction between the bones. If this cartilage is present, then there is less friction in the bones when there is movement in the joints. Okay, it is because of the cartilage that the bones, they do not tear away. Then what is fascia? It attaches muscle to muscle. What, there are so many muscles, how they are held together? They are held together through fascia. And how these muscles are attached to the bone? Through tendons. I hope this is very clear. So tendons, they attach muscle to bone. Tendons attach muscle to bone. Fascia attaches muscle to muscle. Please clarify this in your mind. Read it again and again. Tendons, they attach muscle to bone. Then muscle to muscle. And then what will ligament do? They will attach. Can any guesses? Bones to bones. Okay. So tendons attach muscle to bone. Fascia attaches muscle to muscle. Ligament attaches bone to bone. And cartilages are at the tip of the bone so that they provide a smooth movement, frictionless movement. Of course, there will be friction, but the friction is reduced due to presence of this cartilage. Okay, so between the vertebrae, okay, like in the femur we have femur tips. Then we'll get it in vertebrae, between the vertebrae. Okay, I showed you the picture of vertebrae. Okay, and then there is that disc-like structure. Okay, it is made up of cartilage. Yes, And also we see it at the tip of the nose, this shape. Okay, it gives a shape to the nose. You see, we see something hard here, but here this is something soft, softer than bone but harder than skin. Tip of nose. And we also find it in larynx. That is cartilage. You can take screenshot of this. Then we have layers of bone. They are periosteum. Then they are compact bone. Then there is spongy bone. Okay, and then we have bone marrow. Okay, so you see, a bone has 3 layers. Periosteum, this is the topmost layer. Then comes the compact bone, the second layer, and then the spongy bone, the soft bone. It is the 3rd layer. It is the innermost layer, and in this bone marrow is present. Okay, this is the most interior layer. It's not a layer, it's a bone marrow. So basically there are 3 layers of the bone, and in the innermost it is composed of bone marrow. I'll give you a video, an image of this. So you see, this uppermost layer is periosteum, then comes the compact bone, and then in the end it is the spongy bone. Spongy bone. Just have a look at it. So these are just 3 layers of the bone. You can take screenshot. If you want to take screenshot of this, you can take of this also. But it's same. Okay, now we'll study some diseases or disorders of the skeletal system. Okay, like arthritis. Arthritis is basically when the cartilage, I told you that at the tip of bones we have cartilage. Mostly long bones we have cartilage on the tip of the long bones. Okay, if that cartilage wears away, it tears away, then that is the situation of arthritis. This is painful wearing of joints. And in joints, it's basically the cartilage which is responsible for a frictionless movement. But when this cartilage wears away, there is painful, the joints are painful, and that is the situation of arthritis. Okay, and then we have, So you know what happens in arthritis? The joints are painful, and those joints are painful because the cartilage, it has been worn off. Okay, and this can happen due to a lot of
Yes.
yeah, fine. Fracture. You know what is a fracture? It can happen due to any, if sports, during sports it can happen, or if the bones are not working, if the density of bones is not good, if there is osteoporosis. This fracture is generally the breakdown of, okay, we'll study this in detail, the fracture. Then there are several kind of fractures, that is stable fracture, and there is open or compound fracture. Then there is transverse. Then there is comminuted fracture. And there is oblique fracture. So what happens in fracture? Stable. When, suppose this is a bone, okay. So this is a stable fracture, okay. There is, the bones are intact in their place. It's just that there is a hairline fracture, okay. Then open compound fracture. Open compound fracture is a situation in which skin is pierced, okay. Skin pierced by bone or by blow, right? I'll show you, okay, I'll just show you an image and it will be very, very clear what kind of, yes, yeah. So here you see, we have stable and closed simple fracture. Okay, here you see there is a fracture, but the bones are in their place. Okay, the bones have not moved at all. So this is a stable, closed, simple fracture. This first, this. This is a simple, stable, closed fracture. Then we have oblique. In oblique, what happens? There is angled fracture. Okay, you see, in the fracture, there is some kind of angle. It is not horizontal or vertical. It is angled fracture. And similarly, in transverse fracture, this angle, okay, there is no angle. It is just a horizontal fracture. And comminuted, in this, what happens? The bone is broken into 3 or more pieces. Like we see here, the bone has been fractured into so many pieces. So this is comminuted. Okay. Please take screenshot of this. Okay. And then we have this open or compound. Okay. I'll share this picture with you. Yes, here you see, there is skin is broken, and this skin can be broken because of the blow, because of that thing which has hit the leg. Okay, this skin can break because of that, or it can also break because of the bone. Okay, this piercing of skin that can happen because of the bone or because of the blow due to which the fracture has taken place. Okay. So this is an illustration and X-ray shown on open fracture, the broken end of tibia. Tibia is also called the shin bone. Has torn through the soft tissues and is protruding through the skin. I hope the type of fractures are clear to you all. You can take screenshot. And here we have these. Okay. So what happens in stable? This is stable joint. Open is if the bone has come here. Okay. They're piercing here. Transverse is the angle is horizontal. Then comminuted is when the bone is fractured into so many pieces. Okay. This is comminuted. And oblique is when there is the angled fracture. I hope there is no doubt in this. We have studied arthritis. Arthritis is painful wearing of joints. When there are joints, painful joints, that's arthritis, and it is due to the wearing of cartilage. Then we have fracture. In this we have stable, open, transverse, comminuted, and oblique. In stable, it is like hairline fracture, very small, the bones are intact in its place. Then we have open or compound fracture in which the skin is pierced either by the bones or by the blow. Then we have transverse fracture in which the fracture is horizontal. Then we have comminuted fracture in which the bone is broken into 3 or more pieces. Then oblique fracture is the angled fracture. Okay, please take screenshot of this. Okay, so we have studied. Then we have osteosarcoma. This is the cancer in bone. Osteosarcoma is the cancer in the bone. Then we have osteoporosis. Osteoporosis can be a cause of a fracture in the bone. Why? Because osteoporosis is a situation where there is very less calcium in the bones. When there is not enough calcium in the bone, they are fragile and brittle. They can easily break. This is seen that when the calcium is not enough in the bones, a person is moving, and while moving itself, he gets a fracture. It is the situation of osteoporosis, and if it is elevated, if this becomes very chronic, then a person can get a fracture just by walking. Okay, so that's why it's very essential that we should take care of our calcium intake. Then sprains and tears. In this, when connective tissues are overstretched, and here, like ligament, if it is overstretched or there is a tear of ligament, there is sprain. Okay. So that's it. That is the disease or disorders. You can take screenshot. We have osteosarcoma. It is the cancer in the bone. Osteoporosis. It is not enough calcium. Sprain and tear is the connective tissues are overstretched. Okay. Oh, we are about to finish the class. Okay, so causes of fracture. This is the last topic. It can be due to any trauma. It can be due to any accident. It can be due to osteoporosis. It can be due to overuse. Okay, like if some person is this generally happens to athletes. Okay, what happens? Repetitive motion. Okay, repetitive motion can tire the muscle, because of which more force is there on the bone, and due to which this it can get fracture. This is more used in athletes. Okay, so I think that's it for today. You can take screenshot of this. If any query is there, you can ask please. Okay, so no query.
No, ma'am.
Okay,
No,
good.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I hope you are clear with the assignment that I gave you yesterday.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Just waiting to hear how to turn it in.
Yes, and
No,
you'll be given this
Josh,
assignment
I've sent
officially.
mine-
I've given it. Sorry.
Josh, I've sent mine to Dewa to send it in.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Sorry.
The manager here, she sent it to him. Dewa.
Okay, they've sent it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, then see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye bye.